I'm chilling Sunday, right? It's just a vibe today. Um, totally relaxing. Hope you guys are having a great weekend. I am excited to get into these charts and fundamentals and everything to prep for this week. This week will be a very slow week for us. We don't have a lot of red folders, and I'll get into that as well. But first and foremost, let's get into our easy Sunday vibe and let's just get our mindsets right. We all made it here, and I will create it. I'll create the event and put the video where you guys will normally find it. Okay. So it will be there after the fact. So just apologies for it not being on the site. All right. And I'll fix that because I think both Sunday schools this month just somehow didn't get published. And that is just a Sunday school thing. Everything else should be there. But you guys will let me know if it's not. Yay. Thank you. All right. Appreciate y'all again. So today we're going to resonate on how we communicate. I communicate openly and honestly to express my thoughts and feelings clearly. I share my inner knowledge freely with integrity and without fear. I aim to be fully understood by others. I am open to giving and receiving praise, and I will be careful not to talk excessively and make it all about me. I create space in my conversations for others to communicate with me. I inquire about others' thoughts and feelings, as listening to their truth can be uplifting. Well, of course, we know that can apply to the crib, but I always challenge you because our lives are intertwined for your personal lives, ensuring that, we have 2 ears, that whole like preschool vibe, right? We have 2 ears to listen and 1 mouth to speak. So we should be listening more than we speak, but and then allow that room for open and honest communication. All right. So just have a whole woosah vibe today. Okay. All right. Moving from there, we'll check a few fundamentals. And then I guess yesterday I warned you guys or put alert to you guys on the Warren Buffett and Berkshire Hathaway discussion. I peeped at it a little bit. I didn't sit there and rewatch the whole recording. Listening to Warren Buffett speak is not the most like entertaining thing to do. But if you guys were interested, I sent you guys the link and things like that. Just had some overall comments. I didn't give too much fuss about it. Mortality, here's Berkshire meeting, AI scamming will be the next big growth. Like he just hinted on some certain points. We'll see how the market moves. Of course, you guys know I'm always about the candlesticks. I don't care what they say in the news. Candlesticks gonna do what they told you they're gonna do from the chart as far as day trading goes, right? So looking forward to this week. We have Forex Factory, and we're pretty slow this week, right? As well, I said, have a very quiet week. We'll see how Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday move as far as like grabbing liquidity and things, if there's even any left, because I didn't really see much. We'll get to the charts in a minute. So we'll see how it goes. And then, of course, Thursday and Friday we'll meet and we'll trade this volatility. So before I move on to, there's not much other fundamentals until, the week starts tomorrow, but the feedback I got from last week and then the feeling I also have from last week's trading, and knowing how we want to be together for bigger moves, and most of you guys saw what I put in the chat. I'm really strongly leaning towards changing the time. Early bird gets the worm, right? And it will spill over, of course, into when the bell rings as far as 9:30 stock market opening. And we'll never miss out on that because, I still trade options myself. But ensuring that we capture that morning move, especially some of us who are futures traders, who like making our money really early in the morning, we can start earlier. Now, my thought is to actually make the times vary a bit, meaning, case in point, okay, Thursday, the first red folder is at 8:30, but Friday, the first red folder is at 10. So I wouldn't want to be on at 8:30, especially on Friday. It's Friday, right? So this is like our work group. And we're trying to fix our schedules right to capitalize on the moves. I'm thinking, if our first folder is at 8:30, we're here starting as early as 8:15, right? I know there's a few days per month, like one day a month where the red folder is like at 8:15. Okay, I'm not coming on earlier than 8:15. Just because that folder is usually followed by like an 8:30 folder. And I think we should be kind of okay with that same start time. Um, saying how we meet and talk and get setups and things like that. Then for like Friday, right, it would be like the 9 a.m. start. I'm not gonna start at 10, but I can do like the 9 a.m. We can have the whole pre-market buy. We can recap everything else for the week. We can kumbaya, blah, 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 blah. Right. And then we're ready for the red folder at 10. And we can go that way. I think we can switch between like early starts, 8:15s, to 9 o'clock starts, depending on the folder. Do y'all like that idea? Or am I doing too much? Because I think there's just a whole nother level of confidence that of energy that gets exchanged on this call when we're on the call while the candle is moving crazy and we all push the button and we all take profit and we all feel a lot better about ourselves. All right. Yeah, exactly. Because Esther, I think, at the beginning, I know why you switched back and forth. I know your like story as far as like where your account sits and the back and forth you went there and go put all your business out there. So I get that, and I get you're trying to figure it out. And man, ES, these quick moves in and out, I see, it's like up your alley for your personality style, right? So I'm like, if I can get you guys that we can get some of the futures move in the morning, and then then we know what's coming for SPY even more so. So then we got that out the way to where I'm not even distracted to take the SPY move for the extra like day options play, right? And just for those who are not over on the future side, then I can give you the attention to trade the options because I'm done with my futures and I'm not worried about it, right? In the same way. And then press the SPY button, make that SPY money, SPX money, right? And whatever else. And I just think we can do that. So I'm thinking like at 8:15 to like 10:30, because by 10:30, we're pretty much done anyway. Right. So, and then we kind of know, okay, is it just going to keep going? But like that hype, we caught like all the hype, the whole hype. All right. So if that works for y'all, I got a few yeses on it. We can do that starting this week, and we can come in Thursday at 8:30, 8:15, 8:30, and we can be here for the action and trade till 10:30. And if it goes over, we go over. You guys know that, depending on how the talk is. I don't mind. It's just, and of course you guys show up whenever you go show up, but I'm thinking that. I'm thinking that that may be best, and we can really, really make some money up in here, right? All right. All right. Cool. Any hard rebuttals? Just be honest. If you want to email me at randy@thetraderscrib.com to express your rebuttal, you can. Be fair. Or hit me up on the side and Telegram. All right. If you don't, but I think most of us are still showing up around the same time anyway. So if you show up Later at 9 for the stocks, we're good. Either way, I think I'm still, and all the crazy futures people can get out. And then it works for all the people that got 9 to 5. So y'all just come in and get y'all guap with me and then be out to work. so that works too if you got other jobs to get to by the afternoon. Cool? Cool. All right. We'll start with that. I'll put out a public service announcement. All right, let's get to these charts. Let's remove drawings, do our top-down analysis with ES, and get it going. All right. So this is a monthly chart. I'm using the June contracts. Right now, I have my ES1 already charted up. But to do this together, let's do what we always do, top-down analysis, horizontal lines. You ready, ladies? And let's chart. So we're going to first point out our fair value gaps, right? And I marked the close of this one just because we bounced off of it really nicely and labeled it. So that's the 5011 area. So I can just know what our support is as we bounce around, because I think that's what's about to happen next. I'll tell you why as we get there. And then I did mark this open and close of this one. Got a little bit of money in there. A little bit of money if it came down and closed it. So I'm thinking monthly fair value gap open to close from 49.30 to 48.91 area. As far as resistance, I'm taking the tweezer top and marking it whatever fits you best. Monthly candle body top, something like that. Tweezer top, whatever you want. It's not a perfect tweezer, so that's why I did body. Okay. Monthly. We'll move down to weekly. All right. And from the weekly perspective, this monthly and the weekly lines up perfectly. So if you wanted to, you can change the label like that, right? Because it's literally exactly on there. Monthly / weekly. Sure, why not? All right. And then if you want trader's choice, you can mark this little fair value gap right here. It's so tiny to me that like I'd rather just put a line in the middle of it. I know that may sound crazy, but or at the top of it, right? And just show that this is another support line that's a little bit lower than your monthly. This is a trader's choice though. So as far as not putting too much on the chart goes. Oh, weekly. And I just put these as like fair value gap support. Yeah. Because it's so the range is small, right? So I'm not gonna mark the open and the close. And then as far as resistance goes on the S&P futures, you can make note of this wick or this candle coming all the way up, but I didn't because I know I'm gonna come down on the weekly and find some more. So it's there, 50, 52.15 area. You can make a mental note. But when we come down to the daily, what I see as far as the resistance is I'm going to mark the daily top of this candle with like a daily candle body top label. Top, whatever. And then I'm going to also, we don't have any fair value gaps. And the fair value gaps we do have are already pierced through with a wick. So I'm going to just mark my candlesticks and my wicks. So this is a daily wick. Right. And then that's going to put you in that same range as where it was on the weekly. Remember that 52.15 and 52.14.75? All right. And then as far as support goes from the daily, we're going to acknowledge these gaps. So it'll be daily gap open and daily gap close. And then the same thing with this lower one. So the daily gap open to close is 51.10 to 50.91. And then there's a lower one, very small, daily gap open at 50.57. And then closing very small here, 50.49. All right. And then from here, we go down to 2 hour. And we come in, zoom into current price. We see we have a 2 hour fair value gap open at 51.26 for support. And then we have a 2 hour fair value gap close right above that daily gap open at 51.14. How you want to label this is up to you. Oops, 2 hour. I'm just so close. All right. And then if we squeeze the chart a bit and we look up at the top, we recognize that we did not actually close a little stinking fair value gap on Friday. We actually didn't. Like, we really didn't. So if we label it 51, it technically closes at 51.67. All right. And looking at the continuation pattern that we have, we're probably going to take it up there. It's trader's choice if you're going to scalp that $5-6 when it opens. So 2 hour fair value gap close. This is the close. Trying to finish this one out. And then we're going to note this smaller fair value gap sitting up here. I know it has a bit of a space between 51.67 and the opening of the next smaller one at 51.81, but because it's small, it can so just want to come up here and just get rid of it right quick and then potentially come back down if we're going to bob and weave because we do have some gaps at the bottom. So we're going to keep that in mind that this is where we'll probably take profit first because we do know we have some gaps below. And we want to be careful of that. So I want 2 hour fair value gap open and then the close. Boom. And then that's 51.85 to 51.89, right? And based on the way the candlesticks look, we have a nice big, larger, if we look at this whole thing as like a cradle, we probably could come up here and test this area again. All right, and test this area, these 2 hour fair value gap. We come out to the daily and look at where that is, looking at this ugly bat W that we have, okay? Price coming up to that 51.89 level is not too unlikely, even for a price to come down and bob around. I don't know how we want to continue up here. I don't know if we're going to slow snail crawl and get like a nice bullish trend. I'm not sure, especially with FMOC last week saying, hey, we're not really doing anything to the interest rates. We're kind of cooling, we're chilling, we vibing. Does that mean we really want to tank or we just coasting? I'm not really sure. And this W doesn't help. So when it's on a daily. So we can continue forming this bullish pattern and it holds up. You guys know what we're looking for as far as holding it up. We need a nice little handle now to our cup. And if we get a nice little handle to hold and we don't really come back down and come through this gap, we can maybe stay up. The fact that we have 2 gaps here doesn't make me too convinced that we want to stay up as strong. I think we can heavily chop our way up. The bottom that we really need to break for prices really come down is to break this monthly and weekly support. Okay. So until we do that, even if we come and fill these gaps, we could still hold a slight bullish trend. It's possible. I'm not sure where price really wants to go just yet for the month of May. All right. Looking at it from the monthly analysis one more time, this bounce doesn't really tell us if we're going to go up, down, or sideways. And we do have kids left in the fair value gap, but it's on the weekly. And that means we will probably have to bounce a little bit more, definitely come back down, and potential to pop back up a little bit before really hitting it. I don't know how it wants to form. So I see the signal for it to potentially come further down. This is just one candle. And of course, it has a potential to change up and move down some more. So it's not clear yet. We see the gaps on the daily. We see the short-term bullish on the 2-hour. So you just want to keep up, I'm not going to hold up too long. Like maybe tonight I can get 50 from here. I don't know how we're going to gap open, but I'm thinking we can get up to 51.81 maybe tonight, or maybe stall around between today and tomorrow. We have no red folders. So I could see it totally doing some dumb, right? And then eventually coming back around. Like, that guys, when there's no red folders, price can really literally give you a day of dojis. Like it's just every 2-hour candle is a doji or not moving much anywhere. So please trade with caution as we await unemployment claims. So this is just a slow week. We had our nice hoo-ha run last week. We did great. And now it's time to cool it, get into our womanly hobbies. It is a new moon. So embody some new moon energy in your life and release some things and then come back to the market. Like for real. So all of that is going on this week. From here, of course, we could do a side-by-side analysis with SPY, and then I'll let you guys let me know what you guys want to look at next. Saying that this week is a little quiet, we can take our time and get through it. One more housekeeping note before I get into more charts. My TD Ameritrade people, our time is coming to be TD Ameritrade. Bye-bye. Okay, most of you, if you're like me, this is your last week with them. Okay, we will be transitioning next week. So I'm just giving that reminder out there that I know y'all get flooded with emails from TD Ameritrade about, especially if you didn't already have a Charles Schwab account, to create an account. I can speak better from the people who have Charles Schwab who are going through this. I have Charles Schwab. So, because I already have Charles Schwab before they did this. So it really seems like we do nothing. Like we have like nothing to do. Like literally, or like each account that we have at TD Ameritrade, if you have more than one, will be magically brought over into Charles Schwab. And then that's like the next, when you log in on Monday, May 13th, it should magically be all there under your Charles Schwab login, just magically. Like I have read through. If anybody has anything they want to add to that, and I missed something, let me know. But it seems like I don't have nothing to do. Of course, we'll see how many of us are going to be on the phone with customer service if they mess our shit up, right? Because ain't nobody on time for that. We're gonna be in their behinds for that. But it seems like they're really trying to make it smooth, and you really don't have much to do. I already got my debit cards and stuff in the mail from Charles Schwab, right? Because I had cards on some of my TD Ameritrade accounts as well, and they already sent it to me. So that's just my 2 cents for those of you who are probably going through the same thing and wondering what I'm going through. There you have it. All right. Jasenia is bringing us some 2 cents about looking at a Ninja Trader because I can move stops on charts while still in the trade. I got you on that. Not like Charles Schwab. Okay. But even, okay, but for futures, I'm thinking you're saying you can do that with better. I'm going to close my positions before Friday. Do we know if, wait, if the Think or Swim app on our phones will change? Nothing will change on the app on the phones. So I did read that, like I said, fine tooth comb. So literally when I say they do nothing, and your positions, yeah, you can close them before Friday, but I even think depending on a position, you may not even have to be worried about that. Because you can move positions across accounts even before this merger. Like that's like a thing between brokers. But I didn't, but pay attention to whatever emails you're getting, take profits. Okay. Yes, and all NT does in futures. Okay. Ninja Trader does is futures. Okay, perfect. So she's looking at that to try to have more management, because Thinkorswim doesn't allow you to do that with futures, like move the stops and stuff like that while you're on a chart. You have to connect to a trading view broker to do that with trading view, but again, it's not in Thinkorswim. But nothing will change for the apps, which is great. You don't have to download a new app, you don't have to do anything, your login doesn't change, nothing. It's like, I'm telling you, it's like May 13th. We supposed to just log in a Thinkorswim and it's magically like everything's the same. Like it's all there. Thinkorswim is all there. It's just now housed by Charles Schwab. And then as far as like client profiles and doing internal transfers, you're going to now log in through charlesschwab.com and not tdameritrade.com to do all those internal affairs with your account. All right. I know it's a miracle. All right, y'all. Good. It's our last week. If y'all have anything like, Randy, did you hear about this? Y'all know I'm open for all that. Just hit me up in Telegram. All right. And here we go. ES next to SPY. So this is the SPY daily. Let me clear this chart. All right. Let's go to the monthly and look at what we got. All right. And so we're going to do the same thing as far as lines go. As you know, most of you probably already did it while I was doing ES. For those who don't care, trade ES. But we can just mark it up with the support. And then we come down to weekly. I'm going to leave that the way it is because of how it's spaced. Let's come to daily. And that's just my trader's choice, because I know SPY, I don't like too many lines, because SPY already gets me enough with too many gaps. For my eyes, it's my eyes. And so I put even less lines on SPY. Just what I like to do. All right, so here's the daily with SPY. And let's get these gaps, because that's my biggest thing with SPY is these gaps, because that helps you day trade it. So we have this large fellow right here. Oh, this is going to be fun because you got a doji gap too. Oh, this is going to be great. Fine, where do you want to go? Up first and finish the rest of this candle, because it looks like that's what you want to do on ES. So let's do the gap, open purple, get my dashed line. Let's do the gap close at 505. Gap open 510, gap close 505, right? For SPY. And then, of course, it has the lower gap below. So this will be almost kind of look at it as an abandoned baby. Not really, because it's not completely by itself. But you see the issue here that you'll have to put another line underneath the bottom, because it's like two gaps. Or you can use a little bit of Justinia gap on gap terminology, GOG, gap on gap on your line here. I love it. And we can get it right. So gap open, gap close, gap open, gap close. So the lowest gap close will be 501, right? For SPY. If price were to coming up to meet the candle body top, that will be 515. If price were to continue up a bit. Not sure how we want to wake up there, run back down. I'm not really sure with this ugly looking W pattern we're making here. And that's pretty much how we'll leave it. I see this fair value gap open because it's more of a gap open to the top here. So you see this next smaller one. The 517 is a gap open. So I can make this one purple at the top. And then the 519 will be your gap close. All right. That's what I got for SPY. As we come down to the 2 hour, of course, you can see the gaps better, but I wouldn't really put too many more lines. The only thing I would do, the only other lines I would add it is if you decide to take the trade, once you take when you decide to take the trade, you will say we're coming down. I will go ahead and take another line and acknowledge exactly these wicks, right? The 505.91 and the 50, even this one, this one's the 508, that's a bad one. And then all the way down in the fair value gap before you get to the daily line, 505.41, just so you can get the exact cents that you need to set your options contracts to, right? That matters. Going to the whole number works best, right? But in order for you to know exactly which way to round up or down, I will just, put the lines in there and just know exactly where you're going. Just fine tune it, know exactly where you're going. Because even if you feel like I don't trust the whole number because it's like 505 and it's too far down, they come up and take the little cents and get out of Dodge. Take the higher target. If price was coming down, take the higher target and make sure I say that correctly. All right. All right, ladies, what's next for this evening? Okay, Deborah mentioned they did send an email. I saw that same email too, that we shouldn't data not be delayed, so that we should like literally all of our settings, for the most part, outside of like certain class, they did make a list of certain things that are not going to be transferred over. But yes, okay. All right, I'll run through the watch list if y'all don't have any tickers you want to throw at me tonight. Of course, my watch list has all of our fan favorites on it. I haven't done anything outside of ES and SPY, Alyssa. I am just now opening the floor up to what you guys want to prioritize this evening. And so we can get into it. So Adobe, got it. Right? Adobe. Oh, and happy Cinco de Mayo for anybody who has some, I don't know who got Spanish descent in there. Right. Oh man. All right. Adobe. Any others? Apple, of course. I'll start with Adobe. Cat. Okay. Of course. Yeah, it's just I'm just pointing out there for everybody. You celebrate it because I don't know who celebrates it. SOXL, keep going. I'm making a list. I want to make sure silver. Yeah, I'll prioritize those because I know I get winded. I don't want to prioritize the ones you guys really want. That's it. All right, that's it for now. Add more as you so fit. Please, let's do it. All right. Top down analysis, we go. It's the beginning of the month, so we're gonna do it the whole thing. All right, Adobe. So fair value gaps, of course. Let's just mark off the close of this one. Monthly at 432. I'll call out the levels as I mark so I can get through most of these tickers. I'm not going to let you guys label them all. So it's monthly at 432, and then monthly resistance from 506 to 529 on Adobe. as a monthly fair value gap, like resistance fair value gap. And then of course there's a lower support one at 413 that opens. Come down to the weekly, and we're looking at those monthlies come cutting straight through there. Okay, so from the weekly perspective, there's actually a weekly gap here. So weekly gap at 463. The gap will close at 453 before continuing to finish a fair value gap at 438 for the bottom. We have this small weekly fair value gap at the top towards above current price at 490, from 492 to 496, all from the weekly. All right. As we can see just from this, we have a small order block. Prices bouncing up to probably put some level of resistance in this fair value gap or strike through it. But I do not believe it will 100% turn around. I think it wants to collect more sellers and come down. Coming down to the daily. Of course, we have these large gaps here. So we have a daily gap. It has to get through all this weekly and monthly stuff. So I may have to come back and really label that, because you're like, what line is weekly and what line is monthly? Let's come back out. So this was a monthly for sure. I know that was the monthly close, because when the monthly is above a weekly line, you want to take profit at your monthly. So let's see. I don't want to confuse you guys. That one's close. And this one's open. Okay. Yeah. Lines can get confusing very quickly, and I'm not about to confuse myself as I'm trying to teach y'all. So if I have to come back out, it doesn't work. There we go. So these are weekly lines, and then we have dailies. So this would be your weekly fair value gap open, and with that, you have this daily fair value gap that is going to test. It looks like it's coming up to right here at 490. So if you're looking for a day trade, it can probably bounce it, and it may clear it, want to finish it and clear it, looking at how choppy it is. But I'm not sure about it pushing further past all this weekly and monthly. Not sure about it yet. Earnings is June 13th. So June 13th is earnings. So I guess I will really pay attention to the candlesticks and how it's going to beat up in this area to force pressure up to the upside. If it can give you that good signal, if it's going to come in for this gap, because Lord. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to put an alert at the 506 monthly fair value gap open. Because if I can take Adobe from there, from the monthly fair value gap open on up. Let me measure that right. Let me do that again. So it'll be from here, and they say it broke out. That's good enough. Like, I can totally wait for this to form properly and not worry about everything in between. So I'll put an alert there for 506 if it's coming in that monthly fair value gap open. And maybe let me come back out, see how that looks. Then you can literally just close the monthly. That's 22, and taking it further up would be more than that. So just closing the monthly is good enough for Adobe for me. But I'm not, looking at this monthly view and weekly view and this gap right around here. I believe it can give you some struggle on, definitely before it comes up here, because of just how much pull I think is trying to come in this gap. I just feel like it is just a little bit. I really do. We'll see how this week goes. We really will. All right, what's next? We have Dow futures. Okay. We can go over the Dow. Justine, I think you have a question. Are you trading the Dow? Let's go to Cat. All right, so Caterpillar, she said yes. All right, so Caterpillar is from the monthly perspective, this is interesting. Okay, let's see. You're bouncing on this fair value gap on the support one. You left little kids in it already. So how are you going to treat this one? It's so big. It's so big. So, because I see this 332 potentially turning into resistance fairly soon if it keeps dropping. Let's go with monthly. All right, gap open. And then the 305 being the close. I'm gonna just leave that there. Of course, we could take the top, but I'm just come down to weekly and then take it. Okay, because here's a small little fair value gap on the resistance fair value gap that we can use. 351. Weekly fair value gap resistance is so small for now, based on what price action is. Put it at the bottom where it opens. And then we have this weekly fair value gap close right here. So, which is at 325. So we can weekly fair value gap close. Okay. And then this monthly open is also a weekly open. Okay. And then you can leave that. Let's come down to the daily. And now we got gaps to chart. Lord have mercy. Okay. Okay, so in order for price to close this massive gap, oh my God, there's a gap on gap. Okay. So this is the gap. Okay, let's put the gap close first. Gap close 363 area. Okay. And then the gap open to this damn thing is technically down here. Stupid ass. I'm so mad at this thing. Okay. So then now it came back up and then it dipped out. And then now it's because it got stopped because there's so much in the gap. The stupid wick back here. Oh, there's gap on gap stat price. You see that? Do you see that? So this gap is the reason why price turned around where it did. I didn't even see that one. Did you see that one, Esther? 340. Like that explains a lot. So then that means if it comes back up, it should surpass this one now, the next one. So then I'm gonna go with this wick first. Okay, so let's move this line up. All right, so 352. Let's do ranges here. So let's make this the daily line. So let's hit this daily wick. 352. Up from there, let's do this candle body because these wicks are so close. So I'm gonna go to the body, give a little more room, 356. Don't be naive of this wick. You may need to go out here and dissect it on the 2-hour. And then, of course, the gap on gap begins here at 357. Then closes at 360 before continuing to the other close back up here. This is gap on gap action here. This is, I don't even know how to label this. It's totally just in this thing. Okay, so we're just gonna do a gap on gap open, I guess. Y'all making me, y'all, look, this is a group effort. And then the gap on gap close. Gap on gap open and gap on gap close. Okay, sure, whatever works. It's fuck it, as long as you know what part's going to bounce is all I care about. And then we have wick, gap on gap wick. Sure, why not? Hell with it. Like, y'all, because this chart again, ugh, I can't stand this one. I really can't. Gap on gap close.
So Randy, when I do the gap on gap or gap in gap, the gap is real easy. Don't laugh at me. The gap in gap.
Gap on gap and gap in gap. I gotta hear this. Go ahead.
Okay, so gap on gap is the bigger gap. The gap in gap, GIG,
Okay, I
is
see.
the
So this is
smaller one.
the gap. Okay, I got it. Okay,
Got
okay.
it?
So this is a gig. So we got
Yes.
gigs and gogs. So we got head dogs and end dogs and gigs and gogs.
It's easier when I look at it because my brain, I've done it so much now that it's just like when I look at it, it's like boom, boom, boom. I see it and I can process much quicker to take that trade quicker. And I've noticed that I've been trading faster
Okay, so
or
this
processing faster.
this is great. Daily gap. This is a gog. Gap on close. Because it opens. Damn, where the hell it opens? This is the gap on gap open, and then it's the gap in gap. Lord, wow, what a system! It works though.
I'm confused.
Thank you.
Well,
You're probably not the only one.
I'm sorry, I know, but I'm hoping I'm not the only one because
All
I feel like
right,
I'm stupid.
so
So
apply
that just because of the way
we
it's
see
labeled,
all these gaps, and I
because
think
it
you see
says
them. Go ahead.
I just see I just see two closes and I don't understand because if I thought
Okay.
that if the gap is the gap over if it's the gap on gap, then that's the bigger one. There should theoretically only be one, right? Opening close
No,
with a
not in this
gog.
case. There's a lot of
Okay.
little. So to me, I see multiple gaps. So
Yes, I do too.
let me just back up. Let's
So
just
Esther,
Yes.
when you look at the chart and you see 363, and then you see, oh, she erased it.
because I'm
But
gonna start over and talk through it.
gotcha.
Okay, because we have the big, I think we're all good from the weekly and monthly, right?
Yeah.
Dailies gaps. Okay. So, and I can even take out this resistance line for right now. All right. So we can just see these gaps accordingly. All right, so here we are. The biggest gap is 363. All right, we agree with that.
Yeah, it's earnings. Yeah.
363 to 338.
38. Right.
This, and I'm gonna let you say it correct, make sure we're right. This is the gap on gap because it's the largest one.
That's how I understood it too. Okay, great. Yay.
So we will be labeling the top GOG, gap on gap, close. If we are thinking price is gonna come up, however you do that psychology. I'm thinking price coming up, so we'll close it up at the top. And then the opening of that gap was down here. So this will be GOG open. I can make it like the same green and red for simplicity's sake. Let's see, red. If that works, I don't know. All right, are we good there? So
Yeah.
now that this is the larger gap, let's stay from the top and come down. Do we see this smaller gap from 357 to 360?
Yes.
That is a gap in gap.
Okay. And there are multiple gaps in gap.
This whole
thing is gaps, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
It's crazy. I know. So this you would go gap in gap. Oh, excuse me, hold on. This is what Jacinia came up with. So this is the gig. is great. All right. Boom. The gig open and the gig close. Oh, this should be open. Sorry. Cool. All right.
All right.
So gig open, gig close. And then we have, I think that's it. Yeah, that will be it. Because from here, I would only acknowledge these wicks as wicks. Okay,
Right.
like daily wick, because we know the wick potentially stop the price before it gets to the gap. But now you
Mhm.
have, now you would come in here, you do, you know, wick, daily wick, whatever you want to label it. All right. And boom, you know where price is going and where to get out. And then even, you know, don't forget, because there's a lot going on here. So you got that wick. Don't forget to mark the close of this daily fair value gap at
Mhm.
343. Okay. There's so much going on the cap right now with all these gaps. It's crazy. Okay, because this closes one, which we know it could probably bump its head here. And then
Mhm.
here's the open to the next one. So fair value gap though, because your main gap is down here, it's already in it. There's just a lot
Mhm.
going on, y'all. So I think we
It's a
just go
lot.
faster.
It might be
There is.
too much. It might,
It may be, and that's so
but
you can either, I would stop right here, to be honest, this
yeah,
daily fair value
seriously.
gap close. I mean open. And everything else you're gonna add, you need to come down to 2 hour, 15 minute. Because
Right.
this is just showing all how it's gonna bump his head as it potentially tries to come back up.
Mhm.
The
Right.
bottom is not as bad. So, of course, you have the monthly fair value gap, okay, and weekly fair value gap open. We do have a daily gap here, but we don't have a gap on gap situation here. Okay, so this is just the gap open and
Right.
gap
Have that
close
too. Okay, great.
at
See, and I think that
3:30.
that's where it's getting stuck. Now, I'm just to throw this into the mix. There's also another gap. If you look further back a little bit, a couple candles down further, there's another gap that'll get us to that weekly fair value gap close. So
This one,
yeah, exactly. So I just feel like now, just to make things more complicated, I also had drawn a Fibonacci on a weekly chart.
of course you
I know,
did.
right? Of course I did, because I'm obsessed. So the thing is that what's really interesting is the 78% retracement of that move up is at 320. Are you 326? So basically, it would be closing of the fair value gap is the
Okay.
78%. Look how it's
Okay.
resisting that though. Look at everything in its way. My question is just becomes, because the market's probably going to be flat. I agree with you for at least 3 days. I don't know if there's going to be enough volume for
I
Caterpillar
agree.
to push up or to just stall. And it's basically bouncing between Fibonacci levels all through here. That's the other entertainment to add to the mix. So if we're looking at this from a purely technical analysis standpoint, let's just find out what the chart wants to do. Right.
There you go.
You
I
know,
agree.
it might be fun. I mean, it might be fun for a short term, really short, like get in, get out, set a target for the gap to close or the fair value gap to close on a 2 hour and take a few bucks, move and run and be
Right.
done.
Like since the 2 hour, since it looks like this you on the 2 hour, right? Say because you have the wick, it comes up, but it hits its head at the daily fair value gap close because that's where
Okay.
the daily is. So maybe
Right.
you take it from here if we don't gap crazy. We take it from here to there.
Unlikely. Unlikely, but yeah, it'll probably do that like in the first 5 minutes of the market and none of us can get
I
in.
know.
So
I
blow me
know.
Caterpillar. Yeah, exactly. That's pretty much
But I
the way
mean
it likes
that
to
will
roll.
be that like you said, that supports a scalp. This 2 hour setup supports a nice scalp that you could trust. It's just all about how we gap open. That's it.
Because it could also be a gap to the downside for all we know.
True.
I just have no idea what's going to happen.
Right.
I do think that the Berkshire Hathaway conversation is going to probably drive the futures up. We're going to find out any minute now.
I think so.
But
I don't think there was nothing really
let's see.
bad said.
Yeah. Well, Wall Street loves when a big company like that picks a succession plan. So
Okay.
that's gonna get rewarded too, right? So it'll be entertaining. Let's see. I agree. It might not be a whole lot of nothing tomorrow, so we'll miss you though.
Yep. We'll just watch it slowly draw whatever it's gonna draw and go from there. All right, so let's cap. Let's go to SOXL. All right, SOXL, what are you doing? All right, SOXL looks like it wants to do a healthy, like, continuation plan, like has a continuation plan. Okay, it's just how we getting out of this little chop and just continue up. I don't know how that's going to look. I don't know how many more stalling candles it wants to make. But for the meantime, we know we have we wick through here at the top, of course, but the market would prefer to be up than down. So we can assume that at some point we'll put a body through this range from 52 to 55. All right. There is this little fair value gap down here, support at 24. Okay. All right. Now we come to the weekly and we see that's where everything gets complicated. So the monthly looks so dandy and the weekly looks like what in the heezy. So we have made quite a few candles and candle body wicks and things like that through this lower fair value gap that closes at 29 on the weekly. All right. It's showing quite a bit of resistance that it doesn't really, or rejection, excuse me, from this area. And it doesn't really want to be down here. But it doesn't mean it's out of the clear as far as choppiness goes, as far as a good breakout, and it may be ready to break out. I don't see that just yet. All right. Zooming out and kind of getting the bird's eye view from the weekly, I can see it trying to come up, but how it's going to look, knowing that this fat order block is right here and it's a weekly one, I am not convinced that it's going to be a clean shot. All right. Coming down to the daily to get a better picture of how we can do potentially some day trades. Of course, we have a gap on gap situation. So, in SOXL. So if we were to chart from current price, the support, first we acknowledge the gap between the red candles. All right. How do I want to do that? Which gap is bigger? Oh, this is a funkified one. So let's see. We have the gap from 38 to 36. And then we have this gap in gap from 36. It's kind of like the gap in the outer gap. I don't know how you want to call this one, because it's to the wick of this one. But then if you take to the body, then you're like a couple cents up. I'm not gonna put that line there because I just think that's absurd. So we're just gonna leave it like this, and I'll put this line down here as support at 32. Okay, and another gap opening right at 32. Gap in gap. All right. Then from here, it does look like a little bat W. So if price were to break out a little bit and come up to test the neckline, if you kind of visibly see a neckline, that for me would be 42. That top of that candle, especially since we left a wick right above it. So price probably could continue up and hit its head at 42. So you can have a nice little trade from 38 to 42 as a day trade. We would need way more candles before I think considering anything above 42, 43 level, 42.91. I need more data. All right. Because other than that, I think we could bounce around. We could even pull back into this gap before heading back up. Any other questions with SOXL? I think SOXL is pretty straightforward. And cat make you cross-eyed. All right. Silver, and then we'll get to the down, and of course we'll check back on the ES since it is moving and it is open. So silver, looking at the monthly, silver looks very sideways, right? Looking to somehow one day make its way back up to the promised land. I don't know when that's gonna be. Okay, based on the way this look. All right. We could acknowledge the monthly fair value gap close as support here. I wouldn't do too much more than that. And then the resistance, I would take there's this wick here, but I'm pretty sure we'll find something. I want to acknowledge this candle body actually at 27. That whole little atom looking candle. All right. And then I'm coming down to the weekly. And then I'm going to acknowledge, let me label this one because I already see what's about to happen. Monthly fair value gap close. And then the weekly fair value gap is below it. And it actually has a weekly gap in here. So I'm just going to acknowledge this as the weekly gap close, not fair value gap close, because it is a physical gap. It only has a wick. How random. This button. Weekly gap close at $22. All right. And then resistance at the top, we have some pretty nice gaps here. And this thing moved interestingly. So of course we have a larger gap from 26 to 24. And then we have another gap in gap situation. We have two. Okay. So the in gap situation, I'll make them purple, is going to be 25 to 2504 to 2535. And then 2561 area back up to the 26. So I'll leave this line alone. Something like that. All right. And then we come to the daily. It just gapped like crazy. It gapped into its gap. So now we're like sitting in a gap. So this gap closes completely at $23. Gap close. The gap was open and is bouncing in there at 24, 27, 24 to 23. Right? Let's make. And then of course it can come back up. And that gap close from a body perspective would be at 24. And from a wick perspective, that will be 2468 in comparison to 2483. Right? All of this resistance, all of this, it is, and silver just looks really stuck to me. I don't know where the hell this thing's gonna go. And right now from the daily, I see no signal as to which way it's gonna break out to. On the 2 hour, it gives a little bit of a potential that it could come up, but the least crunches with okay. There's a little more potential that can come up to the upside before wanting to come down further, especially since it's in that gap from the daily perspective. And that going further will be really testing this order block. It doesn't have to do that. No matter what it wants to do. So from the 2 hour, I guess we'll see how this market opens for real. Like seriously, excuse me, y'all. Because I wasn't expecting this for silver, but that's interesting. So
Needless to say, I was not expecting it either.
I'm trying to see what other news gonna help to do this type of
No,
dive.
nothing. It's weird. It's really very weird.
Yeah. I think it's
So
just that.
we'll see. My calls are
Yeah.
December. I got out of my June call because it was just like, I can't take you. The theta was too high.
That makes sense.
Yeah. But the December ones are, it's worth it to stay in just because I'm dying to see what happens.
Well, yeah, I get that too. Yeah. It'll come back around. I really do believe it can. It's just a matter of what this market wants to do.
Yeah. I'll close them if because of the transfer over to Schwab, but
That
I
makes
might
sense.
just leave them in. We'll see. We'll see what's going on. Thank you for that. Appreciate
No
it.
problem. Yeah, we're just gonna see what happens this week is far as it closing at least one of these gaps and letting us know what it's thinking. You know, like that's how I feel about it. What are you thinking? All right, Dow futures. All right, the Dow is future, future. Lord, I'm actually take your time right. The Dow is cheaper to trade than the S&P as far as the futures go. That may be a reason why Interesting is interested in trading it. It is less expensive to trade. All right. It is the less expensive ones of the top three. The NASDAQ is the most expensive. The Dow is the least expensive. And as you know, the S&P like to stay middle. So it's right in the middle between the two. Kid you not. So let's acknowledge this monthly support here. Those who want to trade it, I'll do the whole shebang. Monthly for value gap. That was an open. That was open. The scary thing about this one, because these two fair value gaps are so close to each other, like if this wants to break down, it's gonna go all the way through this bitch. So that could be fun. Yeah, they're so close together. Because you have this little break right in there, and that's about it. Fair value gap close. Yeah, this chart looks all right. Let's come to the weekly. And we can acknowledge this top fair value gap. Weekly fair value gap close at 339,663. Not equally, Randy, weekly. And then weekly fair value gap open at the 339,369. All right. Multiple kids left in this fair value gap here. So we have a weekly support level. Let's see. I don't want squares off. It's a little bit above that monthly line. So part of me wants to acknowledge it. I know it's close. Okay, so I like the weekly fair value gap close here as 37,133. And then the open 37,841. All right. And then the daily. All right, here come the gaps. So we got a gap. Open to close. And this is also a daily. This would be, you know what? I'll make it both grand. This is gonna be daily fair value gap close / gap open. And then this will be the daily gap close at 38,384. From 38,636 to 38,384. All right, we opened up, we gapped up a little bit. So we're coming down the close from where we opened, from where we closed, excuse me, on Friday. So where we closed Friday is here. I make this line blue. So we should be coming down to close that. Of course, we can continue running up the body of this candle, so I can acknowledge the top of this candle body as a level of resistance, and it will be daily candle, just top. That's all I use. A long baking candle, right? We have a long wick here, so it's not, we wick through if there was any little fair value gap in there, we're done with that. So we would have to continue up the whole candle. If it was gonna go up. So coming down to the 2-hour, it's almost there to close that gap from the daily. It has 2 wicks up into tweezer top and matching top into the 2-hour fair value gap. So the 2-hour fair value gap opens here. 2-hour fair value gap open. And the close is just below the daily candle top. To make sure your order fills correctly, that's gonna matter. Matter. 2-hour fair value gap. Oops, Randy. Fair value gap close. And then the rejection from here like this and the stall potentially, and the fact that we got 3 days, no red folders. This could be a doozy to get through, but it looks like it could want to get through it. We zoom out here, we look at how the Dow made a large cradle up. This is the next liquidity grab that's closest in sight. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Dow runs up a bit and closes this fair value gap just because it's here. I don't know how it wants to move through it, but it can. Of course, the support fair value gap that I see is down here. It does have a little bit of kids in it. 38.58 is just below the daily fair value gap close. We'll have to come and close this and challenge the order block at the same level. Two-hour fair value gap open and then close down here. All right. And that's the Dow. This is a nice trade to the upside. Just sitting there, you got me over here like, oh, I may take that with you. What? Anybody else want to take that? Yeah, I mean, that's a great one. And it's like, what, 300 points on the Dow? Yeah, why not? 300 points on the Dow. Just said she like all three. I don't blame you. Okay. $51.60. Okay, I'm talking about futures. All right. I like this. So once the Dow comes back and hits here, I would probably put a buy order here and just take it back up. I don't care about this little tweezer top. I really don't feel like it's gonna fall like that. Something don't feel right about that. We'll just run up a little bit more and then run back down. I don't know what we're gonna do. I don't know. We'll see. Right? We'll see. And then the S&P futures doing similar and gapped up. So here's the blue line. It'll be we closed Friday at 51.54 from this daily candle perspective, right? The daily. So we could come down and do that and then come back up. I don't know how we want to do it, but yeah, that's it. So now we're already hit the top here, which I said before we open. So we came and cleared that 51.67 level, but we left a little wick into the rest of this candle. Now. Do we have an order block right here? Yes, we do. How long is it gonna take us to get up? I don't know, but I just still feel like we can just continue up here. So I don't know how long it's gonna take. I may have to hold it for a couple of days. I'll look at it tonight. see how 8 o'clock goes. But I'll most likely trade from somewhere around here to this fair value gap and get my $30 right there. 51.85, 51.90. Right? That's what I'm thinking as the next target trade. See if we can come up and test that fair value gap because it's only $30 anyway. Take your $30 there and be done, or take the Dow trade that I just showed you. NASDAQ is a little pricey. We can look at it, but it has the same move as you can see. Just look at the 2 hour. I'm not gonna do the whole top down analysis. We want this trade tonight. Boom, right there. It's in it. Actually, NASDAQ is like clear as day because it's like in it, and we already know how it do. So there you ladies have it. All three, like Jacinia said, she gonna take all three. Like, why not? They're all doing the same move. There's a little bit of S&P, a little bit of Dow, a little bit of NASDAQ. Done. Whatever floats your boat, ladies. Any other tickers you want to look at tonight? It's almost 6:30. It's basically a perfect call. We come in here, we set our chart up for what we want, what we're curious about. I'll give you guys time. Any other tickers? Scan through. Oh, I wanted to look at Apple. I didn't do Apple. Let's look at the other fan favorite because Apple did some jazz. Let's look at Apple and then I'll let you guys go. How's that go for this Sunday? All right. Top down analysis, Apple monthly. God, this Apple chart drive me insane. Just like, what? Okay, looking at the monthly, you know what this makes me want to buy? Calls. I swear to Jesus. Like, I want to buy calls. Yeah, like 6 month out calls. Some crazy shit. I'm about to be over there with Esther and Silver. I'm about to buy December contract. Because what are you doing? You don't really look like you're trying to fall. This is wild. I don't even, okay, it just looks so ugly. I don't like the way it looks right now. That's my tangent. I'm really having a fight with this ticker. I need to stop spilling my bias into you guys. I'm telling you. I wanted this gap too, but decided to fake me out and do dumb stuff. That's fine. Weekly view. Oh, we have a weekly gap here, so that's nice to note. Okay. And then at the top, as far as resistance goes, let me come down to the daily. Just because of how it wicked through everything, and I'm not sure if I trust all those fair value gaps the way they look on the weekly like that. Because see, this daily, see, it just did. Lord, there's no way I would have called this. Okay. So I'm just so when I was trying to take this thing up for the gap, it screwed me through here. And I just left it alone. Like, golly. Options, man. And Apple. Some of these tickers just really don't want to move the way you would want them to move. That's all. So I'm trying to just acknowledge how this gap closed right here and we gapped above it and we went into this gap, like all the way into it. There's a gap right here too. So we came all the way up into this upper gap. Boom. All right. And now we're stuck in there. And I don't even know what to do with this gap at the bottom. So like chart this down with green, I guess. Absurd. I'm over this. Okay. And then all these wicks, but the gap technically closes. So this is that weekly gap open, which is great. That the weekly support is right in alignment. So you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna mark this halfway point because we have a candle body and a wick and a gap within a gap. We have a few more gap within gaps. These two candles is another one. And another one, right? Okay. I'm not gonna take that from him. And so we can just do this and this. I'm gonna make them both purple. So from 180 to 179 is that gap in gap. And then this is a candle body top or a wick or whatever at 178 that could potentially stop price from coming down. And I have no clear trade on Apple. So since Apple didn't, it's playing and breaking with my heart, I guess it's going to continue to break my heart. I'm just going to sit out of it and keep my money and trade it where people like me, like the S&P 500. That's how I feel. All right. All right, ladies. Good Sunday school chart and trade setup for today. Thank you. I appreciate you. As always, you guys take care. Enjoy this slow week, and I'll see you guys on Thursday for unemployment claims. All right. Ciao.